Hope everyone managed to get a drink and some dessert or maybe a mocktail, buy some raffle tickets. I also forgot to mention, if you like the stories you heard, please find your way to the tellers and tell them. It's really difficult to do this. It's both easy and difficult. It's easy to share your life, and it's difficult not knowing, are people going to react? Are they going to think you're silly? And so it takes a lot of courage to come up and do this, and you never know if it's landed. So I'd be very grateful if you took a minute to tell people which part of their story landed and what touched you. So now we're on to the next teller. We have two more tellers and then another break. Our next teller is Jack Wozek, who was in the second Wee-WaW show down at the museum, the big show. His show was in September of last year. Jack was born and raised in Chicago, but he's been a Waltham local for 23 years. He's brought up his 4 children here. His wife Eileen is here with us right now. She is also a pillar of the community, for those who don't know Eileen. Jack is a regular on the track circuit. He coaches kids, and he's a proud father of 4. He's a self-identified data geek. And I want to add that he started his storytelling journey here on We Are Waltham, but since in less than a year, he has now been on 2 other large shows, such as Stories to Scene and Grief, that are open to Greater Boston audiences, and I couldn't be prouder of where he's taking this craft and the generosity with which he's sharing his life, because that is what you're hearing today. You're hearing people who are breaking through all their reserves to open up a part of their lives to you, which is not always easy to do. And they're doing it because they're hoping that you're going to walk a mile alongside them and maybe learn, and maybe things will resonate. So let's give a big round of applause as Jack comes up to the mic.
Is this good? So it was a beautiful fall day. I was in downtown Boston in my office on a conference call when my BlackBerry buzzed with a text. I looked at the message. It was from my wife, and my face probably dropped. I abruptly excused myself from the call. I gathered up my things, and I raced out the building to catch a taxi. So as the taxi is picking its way through the Friday afternoon traffic, I was probably picking away at any loose thread in the back seat of the vehicle. I'm clenching my BlackBerry, waiting for another message from my wife. She's expecting our 4th child, and I had just gotten a message that her water had broken. My wife is very efficient, and she's known for having very fast laborers. So I was sitting there clenching my teeth, holding back, trying to ask the driver to just go a little faster, or maybe just move over and let me drive. So as I was sitting in the vehicle trying to pass the time, I found myself get lost in a memory. And in my mind, I was back in my childhood home. I was in the living room. Well, I guess I probably should say the front room, since I came from the Chicago area. So the front room has teal wall-to-wall carpeting. And there's white plaster walls that are kind of textured like a relief map. And on those walls are these framed bronze family trees. And so on these literal family trees are little, multicolored gemstones for each of the people in a very large family. And then right there, front and center in the room, is this old school box console TV. And on that TV are just picture frames and picture frames of my parents' grandchildren. So right there next to the TV is a rocking chair. And I'm in that rocking chair, and I have my work laptop in front of me. It's on one of those rickety wood TV tray tables. And I have my BlackBerry set to ring and buzz like every 4 hours. So from that spot on the rocking chair, I can see right into the dining room. And on that particular day, the dining room looked very different than it usually did. You see, the day before, my brothers and I, we took the dining room table out of the house, and we put it in the garage at the end of the long driveway. And so under the tiny little chandelier, in this spot where we would celebrate birthdays and Easters and Thanksgivings and Christmases, was a hospital bed. And my dad was in a hospital bed, and he was in the final hours of his life, after having a long, hard, courageous battle with cancer. Once it became clear that he was in his final weeks, I had made an arrangement with my employer to work remotely, so I could spend more time in Chicago to help with his care. And so there I would be, in the front room typing memos and taking conference calls. And every 4 hours, I would have the BlackBerry set to buzz and ring to remind me to stop whatever I was doing and to go to the dining room and to give my dad his morphine. So I would be standing there next to his hospital bed, and I would find myself talking to my dad. One time I can remember telling him about my nephews who had come over to rake the leaves. Then, 4 hours later, another buzz from the BlackBerry. I'm standing there again with a syringe, and I'm telling him about his garden and how we turned it over and got it ready for the winter. 4 more hours would pass. Another buzz, another story. This time about my mom and how she woke up and she was doing better that day, and she had gotten out and she'd gone to the grocery store because more people were coming over that night. I tell my dad that my mom is going to be okay. I don't know if he could hear me and if he, would believe me, but when I went back to the rocking chair to finish my memo, I really hoped he had. So I'm in the back seat of the taxi, trying hard to not rip apart that back seat. I get another message, another buzz from the BlackBerry from my wife, and she tells me that, she's holding strong, not a lot of contractions. The taxi pulls up to my house, and my daydream is sort of over. I'm back in the present, and I pay the driver and I rush inside our house. We calmly get our 3 children settled with some friends. We grab the overnight bag, and then we're out the door making our way to the hospital. So in about 2 hours, I find myself standing next to another hospital bed for the second time in a year. And once again, my BlackBerry is buzzing. But this time it is buzzing with excitement as we announce to the world the birth of our youngest daughter, Molly. Molly, who we gave the middle name of Theodora in memory of my dad.